My mother kicked me out of the house because I refused to marry her friend. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to be at odds with my own mother, but here I am, sitting in a small, cold apartment far away from the home I once knew, all because I dared to choose love over duty. It all started about 6 months ago. My mother, who had always been the most important person in my life, began talking more and more about her friend, Linda. Linda had been a part of our lives for as long as I could remember. She was a successful businesswoman, a few years younger than my mom, and had never been married. I never thought much of her other than as my mom's close friend, someone who was always around during holidays and family events. But then, one evening, my mother sat me down at the kitchen table, her expression more serious than I had ever seen it. She told me that our family's financial situation was not as stable as I had believed. My father's business had been struggling for years, and we were on the brink of losing everything. I was shocked. How could I have been so blind to what was happening right under my nose? That's when she dropped the bombshell. Linda had offered to help. She had the means to save our family, to keep the house, to ensure my parents wouldn't have to sell everything they owned. But there was a catch. She wanted to marry me. At first, I thought it was some kind of joke. Linda had always been kind to me, but there was never any indication that she saw me as anything more than her friend's son. But my mother wasn't joking. She explained that Linda had never been able to find the right partner, and she had always been fond of me. A marriage between us would solve all our problems, she said. It would save the family, and in time, perhaps, I would come to care for Linda in the way a husband should. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother, the woman who had always taught me to follow my heart, was now asking me to marry someone I didn't love for the sake of money. I tried to reason with her, to explain that I couldn't marry someone just because it was convenient, but she was adamant. She said it was my duty as her son to make this sacrifice for the family. The problem was, I was already in love with someone else. Her name was Emily, and we had been dating for almost a year. I hadn't told my mother about her because I knew she wouldn't approve. Emily wasn't from our social circle, and she didn't have the kind of wealth or status that my mother valued so highly. But I loved her deeply, and I couldn't imagine spending my life with anyone else. I told my mother about Emily, hoping she would understand, but instead she was furious. She called Emily a distraction, someone who could never provide the kind of stability that Linda could offer. She told me I had to break it off, that I had to think about the bigger picture, about what was best for the family. I refused. I couldn't betray Emily like that. I couldn't marry someone I didn't love, even if it meant saving my family from financial ruin. I told my mother I wouldn't do it, that I would find another way to help the family, but I wouldn't marry Linda. That's when she did the unthinkable. She told me to leave. She said if I wasn't willing to do what was necessary, then I had no place in her house. I tried to argue, to reason with her, but she was resolute. I packed my things that night and left the only home I had ever known. Now here I am, in a tiny apartment, with nothing but the clothes I packed and the love I have for Emily. I've been looking for a way to fix this, to help my family without sacrificing my own happiness, but it's been hard. I've been working extra shifts, saving every penny I can, but it's not enough to make a real difference yet. I don't know if my mother will ever forgive me, or if I'll ever be able to go back home, but I do know one thing. I made the right choice. I chose love over duty, and while it's been the hardest thing I've ever done, I have no regrets. Emily and I are stronger than ever, and I'm determined to build a life with her, even if it means starting from scratch. Because at the end of the day, love is what truly matters, and I refuse to let anyone, no matter how important they are, take that away from me.